Hey there, algebra students. I hope you are well. Today we need to talk about factoring completely, and I have a couple examples for us to work through. Let's consider this one first. 4x cubed minus 12x squared minus 5x plus 15. If we want to factor this, there are four terms, right? This looks a little different from the trinomials that we have been factoring. So we want to factor this by grouping, or sometimes I'll call it chunking. And let's just consider those first two terms, and then we'll consider the next two terms. Consider the first two terms. Is there a greatest common factor? Yeah, there is. What is the greatest common factor for those things? 4x cubed and 12x squared. They're both divisible by 4x squared, right? 4x squared times what would give you the 4x cubed? And how about just an x there? And 4x squared times what would give you negative 12x squared? Well, that would be a minus 3, right? Now, the goal with this chunking is to end up with one term in each set that is the same. So I look at the minus 5x and I see the plus 15, and I want it to look like a minus 3 in there, an x minus 3 if possible. So I say to myself, I'm going to factor out a negative 5. I'm going to try negative 5 and see what that leaves us with, right? Negative 5 times what is minus 5x? Well, it would just be x. And negative 5 times what gives you a plus 15? Well, that would have to be a minus 3. Oh, hey, look, I've got an x minus 3 and x minus 3. So we're going to sort of reverse distribute this 4x squared and minus 5, and we're going to write them together in a little happy binomial. And it will be multiplied by the x minus 3, which those guys come together, and these guys come together. And we are done. That is our final answer for this question. 4x squared minus 5 times the quantity x minus 3. Let's consider 20p squared plus 22p minus 12. Is there a greatest common factor? GCF? Yes. Yes, there is, right? They're all divisible by 2. So let's start with that. We'll factor out a 2. That'll leave us with 10p squared plus 11p minus 6, because 2 times 10p squared gives us the 20p squared. 2 times the 11p would give us the 22p, and 2 times negative 6 would give us the negative 12. Okay, but we're not done. We need to factor this further, right? What things multiply to 10? You could do 1 and 10, 2 and 5. What about things that multiply to negative 6? How about negative 1 and 6, negative 2 and 3, negative 3 and 2, negative 6 and 1. Let's see. We could try a number of things. Let's try 2p here and a 5p here. Let's try minus 2 and a plus 3. I'm just picking something to start with. Okay, so if I multiplied those through, 2p times 3 would be 6p, and negative 2 times 5p would be negative 10p, and that would add up to negative 4p. And that is not what we want, right? We don't want negative 4p, we want 11p. So I'm going to switch it. We're going to try something else. Let's switch the 3 and the 2. If I switch the 3 and the 2, 2p times 2 would be 4p. Negative 3 times 5 would be negative 15p. and that would give me a negative 11p. That's close, but that's not quite what I want. I want a positive 11p. So I'm going to switch the signs. I'm going to make this one positive and this one negative. So then I have a positive 11p and a negative 4p, and that's what I want. So my answer is 2 times the quantity 2p plus 3 times the quantity 5p minus 2. Boom. And we have one last problem. We have x cubed plus 3x squared plus 16x plus 48, and we need to solve this equation. So the very first thing in solving this equation is setting it equal to 0. So we want to subtract 16x from both sides. We also want to subtract 48 from both sides and set it equal to 0. So we would have x cubed plus 3x squared minus 16x minus 48 equals 0. Now, we want to chunk this. Let's chunk it, right? Let's look at the first two terms. What's the greatest common factor? It's going to be x squared. So we're going to pull out an x squared, and that will leave us with x plus 3. And then here I want to factor out a minus 16, well, a negative 16, right? So negative 16 times x would give us the negative 16x, and plus 3 would give us the negative 48 is equal to 0. Okay, yay, we have an x plus 3 and an x plus 3, so we can make this x squared minus 16 times x plus 3 equals 0. And then, oh, this is a difference of squares, this x squared minus 16. So we need to break that down further into an x plus 4 times an x minus 4 times the quantity x plus 3 is equal to 0. And we're still not done. We need to take each of these guys and set them equal to 0, right? So we would have x plus 4 equals 0, x minus 4 equals 0, and x plus 3 equals 0. So here we would subtract 4 from both sides and get x equals negative 4. Here we would add 4 to both sides and get x equals 4. And we would subtract 3 from both sides and get x equals negative 3. So we have 3 answers for this problem. Negative 4, 4, and negative 3. I hope this video helps you as you consider lesson 7.8, and I hope that you are all well. Don't forget to show your work.